Hi there, welcome along. This is day number 2 of how to have more time and energy as a parent. So today's session will be focusing on prioritising you. Yesterday we looked at planning for success, and we broke down planning for success into 4 categories. So we had vision, we had goals, we had tactics, and we had review. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to jump on. Anyone that does come on, I encourage you to grab a pen and paper and some water, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Hi Stevie, cheers for coming along. At the moment it just looks like it's going to be me and you. So just like yesterday, this video will be recorded and reposted, so anyone that can't make it or can't watch the whole thing right now, that's absolutely fine. It will be reposted for you to watch later on. Okay, I'm just going to get started. Anyone that jumps on and has any questions, please feel free to fire them in the comment box, and I'll either answer them as we go or at the end. Okay, so prioritising you. I've spoken to a lot of parents and a lot of individuals that really find prioritising themselves a struggle, and I understand why, and for a long time I was that person too. So today I would really like to break down some of the tactics and tips and the understanding around why prioritising yourself is so important. So what resonated with a lot of people on my first Facebook Live was the analogy of you can't serve others from an empty cup. So what I mean by that is that if your cup is empty, your battery levels are at 0 or low, it's really difficult to give your best to anyone else or to even give anything to anyone else. So self-care, number 1 priority. How do you look after yourself? What sort of things do you do to help support your health? And that could be your physical health, your emotional health, or your mental health. So self-care could be something as simple as taking 30 seconds outside to breathe in some fresh air. Self-care could be sitting down with a coffee and taking a couple of minutes out. Self-care could be shutting your eyes and focusing on your breath for a couple of minutes. Self-care could be taking an extra long shower and just feeling the water hit your back. There is so many different options for self-care, and I invite you to start listing down and start thinking about what sort of things work for you, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for someone else. I really enjoy taking a couple of minutes out from the kids and just sitting in the kitchen and having a coffee. Not everyone likes coffee. Another one that really works for me is I really enjoy reading my book, and even if I only get 2 or 3 minutes or a page or 2 reading my book, that really helps me just to relax for a couple of minutes, recharge my battery, fill my cup back up, and then I can go back. Okay, so just to reiterate, I invite you to have a think about what methods of self-care work for you, what methods of self-care support your physical, mental and emotional health. Okay, moving on from self-care, move on to nutrition next, and I am no expert on nutrition, but what I do know is you are what you eat, and that if you fill a petrol car full of diesel, then it doesn't run. And just like if you fill your body full of shit, your body doesn't run. So what a lot of people really struggle with when it comes to nutrition is they try and change everything all at once. So they look at breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, fizzy drinks, tea, coffee, everything, and they try and change everything all at once, and that can become really overwhelming and really quite stressful. So what I invite you to do is to focus on one meal. So especially with kids, I always think that dinner time is a great meal to focus on with children. And there's lots of little things you can do to encourage you to look after what you eat, and then how that mirrors onto your children. And as I spoke about in the first Facebook Live, children are like sponges. So you are a role model and they mirror what you do, your behaviours and your actions. So a couple of quick tips that I've found helpful when it comes to kids and dinner time is get the kids involved. What do the kids want to eat for dinner? So if the kids love chicken nuggets, why not make homemade chicken nuggets? If the kids love pizza, why not make homemade pizzas? Get the kids involved, let them pick their toppings, and really let them get messy and let them, because they've been involved and they've taken part in making their own dinner, they're far more likely to eat it. Another tip that I found helpful that works for me is that I have one child, for example, that will not eat any vegetables whatsoever. But every time I cook a meal and make vegetables, I put one bit of whatever veg I have on his plate. There's no pressure for him to eat it, for him to even try it, but it's there, and it's there every time, and I just leave it down to him. And the consistency of doing that over and over and over again, eventually he will try it. Whether he likes it or not, who knows? But the consistency of doing that over and over again. So just to reiterate on nutrition, you are what you eat. If you fill a petrol car full of diesel, it doesn't run. It's just like your body. If you fill your body full of shit, it doesn't run. And it certainly doesn't run effectively. So your nutrition also then spirals onto sleep, and that's what we're going to talk about next. That the scientific evidence to suggest that 7 to 9 hours sleep is the amount of sleep that you should have every night. And that isn't time in bed, that's time actually sleeping. So what I invite you to do is to start thinking about your bedtime routine. I know a lot of parents find it really difficult to switch off at night. They find it difficult to shut down, to relax before they go to bed. A lot of parents find it difficult to actually sleep. And then eventually when they do fall asleep, that has a knock-on effect to what time they want to get up in the morning and their energy levels in the morning. So what I invite you to do is to write down your nighttime routine. So what does your nighttime routine on a normal night look like? What time do the kids go to bed? What do you do between the kids going to bed and you going to bed? What time do you put your phone down? Do you take your phone to bed with you? Is your charger right at the side of your bed? If you're sitting reading a book at night in your bed and your phone goes off, are you likely to pick it up and then be completely distracted from your book and start scrolling aimlessly through Facebook? I don't want to teach anyone how to suck eggs, but blue light from mobile devices or iPads effectively tricks your brain into thinking it's daytime. So if you go to bed with your phone at night and sit and scroll aimlessly through social media or anything else you do on your phone, your brain has been tricked into thinking it's daytime. So when you then put your phone down, your mind isn't ready to fall asleep. Your mind thinks it's daytime. So I would encourage and invite you to not scroll through your phone, not sit with your phone at bedtime. Set yourself a phone bedtime. A social media bedtime, absolutely, but also a phone bedtime. So yeah, pen and paper, write down your nightly routine. What does it look like? Once you've written it down, you can look at it and you can start identifying things that are not healthy and things that are healthy. Because habits last. We spoke about that yesterday in the live, that once a habit's created, it's not easy to get rid of. And if that's a good habit and that's something that's serving you well, that's fantastic. If that is something that's not serving you well and isn't helping you settle at night, then we need to put things in place to get rid of that. Sorry, you need to put things in place to get rid of that. Okay, so next point, exercise. So a lot of parents find it difficult to find time for exercise. And that is something that's been brought up a few times through speaking to different parents, that time seems to be the issue with exercise. So depending on what your baseline is, my suggestion is you do something, because something is absolutely better than nothing. So if at the moment that you do not do any exercise whatsoever, is doing 1 or 2 press-ups or walking for 5 minutes, is that a big ask? Is that overwhelming? Is that a big expectation? I don't think so. If I asked you to run 3 miles, then absolutely I would expect you to turn around and say absolutely not, Darren. The thing with time is we all have 24 hours in a day, and I can guarantee that you tell me you don't have time any day of the week to exercise, I would invite you to check your screen time on your phone, and you will probably get a shock. So even if your screen time is 2 hours a day, it's 14 hours over a week. How much exercise could you squeeze into 14 hours in a week? The thing with exercise and with nutrition and with sleep is they all work hand in hand. If you look after what you put in your body, if you look after how much you move your body, that will help you sleep. If you then sleep well, you'll wake up with more energy. So you're more likely to be in the right headspace to then exercise, to then prepare a decent meal. So it's a circle. Okay, so just to reiterate before I move on, self-care, anything that's healthy, looking after your physical, emotional and mental health. Nutrition, you are what you eat. Focus on one meal. If you find it difficult getting your kids to eat certain things, get them involved, make something homemade, but focus on one meal at a time. Don't try and change everything. Sleep, I invite you to write down your nightly routine. What does that look like? Does anything stand out? What's healthy? What's unhealthy? Exercise, do something. That something could be absolutely anything. As long as you're moving your body, that's better than sitting on the couch doing nothing. Okay, so moving on. Something we spoke about, I spoke about on my first Facebook Live, is that you are a role model for your kids. Kids, it's like a mirror. So whatever our actions and behaviours are, our kids are absorbing all of that. They're like little sponges. So they may not show it straight away, but they absorb everything. So going back to previous examples of nutrition, exercise, sleep, if you eat shit, then your kid is also going to grow up knowing that eating frozen dinners every night for tea is what normal people do. They'll become accustomed to eating shit, and that will become their life. If they live in an environment where people swear, then they're going to grow up thinking that swearing's okay, and that's what happens in your home environment. If you then don't exercise, don't move, your kid's going to also think that that's acceptable and that's normal. So I invite you to think about your own habits and think how that could then impact your kids. Okay? So you are a role model, it's like a mirror image, and your kids are like sponges. So you have to think about you, your actions and your behaviours and how that impacts your children. Okay, so moving on. What I find with parents, and I've actually had a few messages since my first Facebook Live, is the feeling of feeling guilty about prioritising yourself. And this is something that I have to agree with, that for a long time I also felt that guilt, that when you go and do something for you, you feel guilty about leaving your kids behind or leaving them with grandparents or a babysitter or with mum, with dad, whatever that looks like. And do you know what? It's tough, I agree. So if we break that down a little bit further, what does that actually mean? So that feeling of guilt is a conflict in values. So you have one value of feeling like I need to recharge my battery, I need to fill my cup back up, and you have the other value of I want to be a great dad or a great parent and I don't want to leave my kids. So what we try and do is we try and balance both these values. Right, and you know, when you try and balance anything, it's not always that easy, and 9 times out of 10, nothing's ever fully 100% balanced. So the best way to look at it, or how I in a way that I found effective, is that swing the balance one way or another. So to allow me to be an awesome parent, I need to swing the balance slightly the other way and prioritise myself for a short period of time. And by doing that and filling my cup back up, that allows me then to swing the balance the other way and then be an awesome dad. So if you think about the scales, that we're looking for this perfect balance, but that perfect balance doesn't exist. We've got a conflict in values and one value has to win. So if you want to be an awesome parent, then sometimes you need to let the value of being an awesome parent slip to prioritise yourself, to then pull that back up to then be an awesome parent. So yeah, I invite you to have a think about that. The next time you feel guilty about going and doing something for yourself, what values are conflicting? Is it just a case of, if I go and do this for me, then that allows me to do this for my kids? And 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. It's a conflict of values. Okay, so something again I spoke about in the last Facebook Live was that structure is the antidote to chaos. So when parents find it difficult to do things for themselves, and we'll touch more on this tomorrow's video when we look, when we go further into this, from setting the intention, do one small thing for you every day. So that one small thing could be something as simple as sitting down for a coffee. That one small thing could be taking an extra 2 minutes in the shower, or having an extra long toilet break but taking your book with you and reading a couple of pages. Right? Whatever that is, it doesn't really matter, but it's about intentionally, consciously doing something for yourself every single day. And what I find highly effective is writing it down. So if you set 3 goals for the day, which again we'll go into this in more detail tomorrow, and goal setting and journaling. If you write down your wins for the day, so if you were to sit down at the end of every night and write down 3 wins for the day, so what 3 things did I win at today? And if you could write down that I took 2 minutes or 5 minutes to sit myself and have a coffee and recharge my batteries, that's a win. Which then allowed you to go back and make a really nice dinner with your kids, feeling more energised and switched on and ready to go and focused. So there's the second win. You made a nice healthy homemade dinner with the kids. The third win could be something to do with business, something to do with your career, something to do with social life, romance. It doesn't matter. But if you write down 3 wins every day over the course of a week, that's 21 wins. So when life feels overwhelming, when life feels stressful, can you imagine sitting down on a Sunday night having 21 wins for the week? How does that feel? Great, doesn't it? So just to reiterate, structure is the antidote to chaos. When life feels chaotic, when you're struggling to prioritise yourself, structure it. Okay, so in terms of content-wise, I'm aware, just like yesterday, I've fired a load of content at you all, and I'm now open to any questions that anyone has. If anyone wants to discuss anything further, please do pop your question in the box. Just like yesterday, so I sent a few journaling exercises out yesterday to some of those who watched the video yesterday. So if anyone's on that has completed the journaling exercises and wants to talk about anything they wrote, or has any questions with regards to the journaling exercises yesterday, please do fire them in the comment box or send me a private message if you would rather do it that way. Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of minutes. If anyone's got any questions, please fire away. If not, that's absolutely fine. Okay, just while we're waiting, I just wanted to make you aware that after tomorrow's 3rd day, I am going to have an exciting 6-week programme coming up, which won't be open to everyone. It will only be open to certain individuals. I'll speak more about it tomorrow. So the 6-week session is going to, the 6-week programme, is going to allow you to really home in on your values, your habits, your beliefs and your priorities. So as I said, I'll speak more about it tomorrow, but I just wanted to put it out there that that will be available after tomorrow's 3rd and final day of having more time and energy as a parent. Okay, so it looks like at the moment there's no questions. So just to quickly reiterate, prioritising you, self-care, nutrition, sleep, exercise. Start looking at role modelling. You are a role model for your children. So whatever you do, what your actions and behaviours are, your kids are absorbing all of that. So the environment you create, the energy that you offer, the food that you eat, how you move your body, the language you use, your kids are absorbing all of this. So start thinking about your own actions and your own behaviours and how that will impact your kids. Structure is the antidote to chaos. Start structuring things. We'll go into that more tomorrow. And the feeling of guilt about prioritising yourself is often a conflict in values. So you have the value of freedom, self-care, and you have the value of being an awesome parent. And having it balanced doesn't work. So you have to swing the balance in one favour to allow the other way to swing back. Okay, I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you very much for coming along. And if anyone would like the journal exercises for today, please drop me a message and I'll fire them over to you.